Welcome back to episode 12 of the Orange and Blue Crew. Myself, Jai, and Reek. A lot's gone down since our last episode. I think our most recent episode, for whatever reason, was copyrighted. So we'll have to look into that. But obviously, a lot has gone down since our last episode. I think our last episode was like before game six, even of the Philly series. So a lot of things to touch on in a short amount of time. So let's not waste any time. And obviously, the Knicks, we're in the second round. We're one win away from advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Since 19 was it 99, right? The eight seed team that made it
Yes.
to the finals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be the first time since 1999 that the Knicks will get a chance to compete in the Eastern Conference Finals, and will be a chance because I just saw the injury reports. I think not only is Donovan Mitchell out tonight, but Karis LeVert is out, and Jared Allen is out, and I think somebody else is out tonight for the Cavs. So they're like tanking a playoff game, which is basically unheard of. So more likely than not, our opponent would be the Celtics should we advance, and that would be and ironically, that was the last time he played the Celtics in a playoff series. We beat them with Mike Woodson and Carmelo and company.
That's right.
So
that was the infamous black suits.
Yep,
To the sweep game, and we actually lost, and then we had to come back and beat them.
And I think didn't J.R. Smith get suspended a game for elbowing somebody? Yeah. So all that happened, but that's neither here nor there. The goal is to get to Boston. So before we get into game 6, obviously in Indiana, we got a lot of things that we got to catch ourselves up on, get our thoughts out there on the interwebs on. So as far as just how everything shook up at the end of Philly transitioning into Indiana, just we'll start with you, Jai. Just what impressed you the most? Obviously, this is, if, as best you can, try and keep all of the most recent things aside, but just with how things ended up in Philly, and then basically how things started against Indiana. How was your vibe? What were your thoughts as that was transpiring?
Well, I was really hurt. We were up 3-1, and we lost that game 5 in New York. That was in New York, right? I think it was in New York. Lost that game 5 against Philly because of the Tyrese Maxey magic in the last 30 seconds of that game. That felt like, and I'm not like my dad, where like my dad, I'll never forget when I was home for college for my junior year. We played the Chicago Bulls twice, and in both games, Jalen Brunson had stinkers. And my dad, we were sitting there on the couch, and my dad was like, "Well, this is December." And my dad was like, "The season is over." I'm like, "What? How do we get to this conclusion?" But if you ask me on that day, game 5, how did I feel? I felt like that series was over. I felt like that was enough momentum for Philly to run off 3 in a row and come back 3-1, because they're pretty much owed that, because I think they've given up a couple of 3-1 advantages in the last 2 years. But I was really, really impressed with the way that the Knicks came out in game 6 to finish that series. And it was like right away, they set the tone of, we're going to get out and we're going to run. We're going to be the tougher team. We're going to be the more energetic team. We're the team that believes that we're just 10 times better. And I don't even remember. I mean, that was, I guess, a long time ago, but I don't even remember the real, what was happening in that game. I just know that the Knicks got out to a lead. So Sixers made it close, but then we stretched out and finished at the end.
Yeah, we were up 22, and then we went down, I think, as much as like 8 or 10. And then we went on that run, and OG hit that corner 3 with his patented real life green animation, the green animation to tie it up. And then we ended up pulling it out at the end.
Yeah, so I was real happy about that. And then game 1 in Indiana, a game where I did do some pretending like I wasn't really worried. But I had, in this series, I remember sitting on the couch. Actually, I was poolside in Florida the first time we played the Hawks. I remember the feeling when the whistle blew and the jump ball happened then. I remember game 1 versus the Cavs, game 1 versus the Sixers. When we sat down for game 1 versus the Pacers, I'm like, oh, these guys are food. And I'm ready to watch the Knicks dominate. And that's exactly what they did to start off that series, despite being down early.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Reek,
Yeah,
where were you feeling at, post Sixers and after, maybe the first game or two against Indy? I know Indy, for I think both of you, was a team that you guys didn't really want to see. So I'm curious just how you guys, ignoring the present day, which we'll get to, just how you were feeling post Philly in the beginning of Indy.
Sure. So with Indy, I didn't really, I was just a little bit nervous in the beginning of the playoffs about their scoring to see how we would contend with their scoring. But I know in the playoffs things come to a grinding halt, and all of that 140-point games running down the court shooting. I knew we would get that under control. Just didn't know how good Tyrese Halliburton actually is, right, in a playoff series. But that was one thing I was thinking about Indy. But I did not want to play Philly, and that was partly because of Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is a fantastic player, but I just don't like him. To be honest, like I just don't like him. I think it's well documented now. Like I just don't think that he has the requisite intelligence, emotionally intelligence to be successful in the league. Is clear, right? They keep getting knocked out, no matter who he has on his team. It's been an amazing cast of characters. So game 6 in Philly, when we lose the game 5, I was it was on April 30th. And I was at Cheesecake Factory with my mom because it's her birthday and she loves Cheesecake Factory. I'm watching the game over my shoulder, and we take control of the game. I asked for the check. I'm on my way home, and I did a no. I started talking junk about the Knicks beating the Sixers on the way home prior to the game ending. So a coworker of mine sends me a text message, and he's like, he says something like, "Oh my God," or "This is unbelievable." That's what he said. "This is unbelievable." And I'm thinking he's talking about, Philly lost because he's a Philly fan. Sure enough, I'm like, yeah, that's how we do, blah, 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 whatever I said. And he was like, well, then his response to me was, "I think I'm a couple of minutes ahead of you." And I was like, what does that mean? So I went home and my feelings was hurt like hell that we lost that game. I was so hurt. I couldn't believe it. And again, like Jai said, in December, I was like, yo, are we gonna lose this series to these bums? And but we went into game 6, and from our text messages and us communicating about the game, it quickly shifted for me. I was like, you know what? If we beat Philly in Philly, we're probably never going to lose another series to them with this team as currently constructed. I don't care who they bring in there. If we beat them in Philly and rip their hearts out down in Philly, we got them for good. And that's exactly, obviously, what happened. So I was really excited about that win, especially to end it in game 6 in Philly with all of the foolishness that was going on in terms of them players out, throwing, Joel Embiid rolling up on people's ankles and all kinds of nonsense. Tyrese Maxey was completely limited in that series. At the end of that series, we just figured him out completely. So then, obviously, we move on to game 1 for Indy. And, I don't know. I just have not been convinced by this Indianapolis or Indiana Pacers team. I just haven't been convinced yet that they are a better team than us, or that they could even really compete with us, especially when we had OG. And that, in that game, I think you guys stopped at game 1. But game 2, have we gotten there yet? Because again, game 2 was one where I thought I was going to cry when when Brunson asked out, and he was out the entire second quarter. and we're just watching the game, wondering, all right, what, like the
What's going
collective.
on?
Every Knicks fan was like, what is happening with Jalen Brunson? And then, you're sending stuff from Twitter. It's got to be his, I think it's his ankle or his groin. I thought it was his
Yeah,
groin.
I thought this was great because he was kind of holding his groin area. I'm like, oh, he must have gotten kicked or something. Like, he'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh my God. Everybody was, and so he goes out the whole second quarter. We all know, we just tread water. We just stay afloat. We stay
OG,
afloat.
man.
OG was he just blacked out. Like that was the how we say it. We had a Dante game. Obviously, all games are Brunson games at this point. We had some Hartenstein games, but that was the OG game. He just came. I don't know what he was thinking that night. He was just on one. 28 points.
Kawhi must have sent him a parting gift.
So yeah, that was so exciting. And then I'll end it with that game. And I'll let you guys start with games 3 and 4. But what really made me confident and comfortable with that game in game 2 was when Brunson came back on the court. And they're showing clips of it now, but I watched it when he came on the court, when he told the fans to shut the fuck up. I don't know if you guys have seen that clip yet, or if you were watching at that moment. But when he came back
the and one on TJ McConnell.
No, when he came back out in the game 2.
Oh yeah.
With those big ass orange sneakers on.
Yeah.
They were huge. But he came back out and he was just like sort of trying to calm the crowd down, like, because everybody went nuts, of course, when in like the shoot around. And he was like putting his hands like, calm down. And then he mouthed like, I just shut the fuck up. Let's make sure I could actually play.
Yeah.
He got in the game. He didn't have much, but he had enough to galvanize the team and show his leadership. When he was out there, that made me feel confident that we're going to win the series. Just because he was out there, everybody's level just went completely through the roof. And, and obviously we win the game. We take him out without OG in that game. So,
right.
Just a very exciting series, especially up to game 2. Just filled with confidence. Like I kind of knew we were just gonna, I don't know, be in some trouble in games 3 and 4, but not in the way that many folks think. And I'll talk about that when it comes back around to me.
Right. For me, obviously, I was confident about Philly. Never really was worried. Game 5 obviously sucked, but I even after game 5, I was like, all right, well, we'll just take care of business there. I was never like, oh man, it's over. Now it's gonna come back to the Garden. They're gonna I was just like, hey, nah, we'll finish it over there. We got the guys that are mentally ready to do it, and they proved me right. I was kind of getting sick of the series, like you alluded to, Reek, where it was just like the Embiid stuff and the it just seemed like everything non-game related was becoming a story. And I'm like, look, man, like, can we let's just hoop, man? Like, can we just hoop? And when we finally got that series over and done with, we won that in 6. Like I said, Knicks in 6. I was happy to move on and get ready for Indy. And then I think I had Indy, before, when we were talking about, our who we want to most want to play, who we least want to play. I believe I had Indy 3rd for me, because I was like, well, they could pose a problem if we can't stop them. But, the playoffs, like you said, it's a different pace, things are slower. And those type of teams that score 130, 135 in the regular season every night, they typically don't last long in the postseason. I also think the Pacers got the benefit of the doubt of not having to play Giannis every game, a hobbled Dame for a few games. So I think they kind of just got more luck of the draw than necessarily being the better team. Like, I mean, they played them tough in the regular season, but I think if you have a situation where you have a healthy Giannis and a healthy Dame in a playoff format, they're not. I don't think they're losing to Tyrese Halliburton and Ben Shepherd and Alex Nemhard, or Andrew Nemhard, who are good. Like, they're solid players.
They're good players. And I think Indy has too many players.
Yeah,
I think they're in that team. They play like 12 guys.
Yeah, they got too many guys with the green light. And when everybody's shooting, then it's like, how does your guy stay in that rhythm. Like you need that guy who's going to take over. And so when we matched up with Indy, going into games 1 and 2, I was convinced. I'm like, hey, we're gonna run these dudes. I was saying Knicks in 5. Um, I believe that we would take care of business in the first 2, split 3 and 4, and then finish it in the game 5. And after game 2, I was feeling like, hey, we got it under control. Obviously, like we talked about, game 1, was kind of just like a classic Knicks game where it was back and forth. I think maybe we went down by like a little bit. We ended up coming back and taking the lead. Actually, yeah, it was. We were trailing for most of game 1. I was actually that was when I was in Chicago that night because, like I said, obviously I'm back home in New Jersey. I forgot to address that at the beginning of the show. I am back home in New Jersey, and my mom and we drove from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, back to Jersey, and we stopped at some baseball parks along the way. So one of those stops was Wrigley Field, and the day we're playing, in game 1, we're at Wrigley Field, and I'm trying to watch the game, and I'm trying to check my phone and see what the score is. And I think my ESPN was kind of slow, but I had the TNT app, but my mom had it, and mine was like a little behind hers, but then like hers went behind and mine went ahead. So it was just a struggle trying to keep up. But I mean, big shots at the end. We were able to pull that one out at the end because we did trail for like what seemed like 90 to 95% of that game.
Mm-hmm.
But then eventually at the end ended up pulling it out. Big shots by Dante. Brunson, of course, just being Brunson. Hartenstein with the rebounds, Josh with the rebounds. So that was kind of just like basically a characteristic, a win characteristic of the Knicks this postseason. It's kind of just been what we do. And then game 2, like you said, everybody was like, where's Brunson in the second quarter? But then OG OG scored 28 points in 28 minutes. So to see him go down like that, in the, I think it was the third quarter, to see him go down like that in the third quarter, like, man, that was just like a gut punch because it was like, wow, because we've been saying we need to run more stuff for OG. We need to, because Brunson is Brunson, but we just got to have a guy who is going to give us, okay, so let's say Brunson's going to punch Brunson in for 30. Someone's got to give us 20, 22. And the way OG can get his 22 is a lot easier than the way Dante and Josh are going to get 22, because Josh is going to have to hit threes that he doesn't normally make. And Dante is going to have to take he takes a lot of bombs when he's trying to score. So OG, he can mix it up. He can hit the 3, he can hit the mid-range, hit the layup. So see him
cut to the rim.
Yeah, getting to the rim, dunking the ball. Like he was doing everything. So to see him go down really sucked. But the way that our team fought back, down 10 at halftime, OG basically single-handedly weathering that storm. And then Brunson just kind of, whatever drugs they shot him up with were potent.
That's what they did.
He had to have been on something, because it was like he was moving. It like took him a minute, but I think he kind of forgot about like his foot, and he was just playing like himself. The and one on McConnell, I loved it because people have labeled TJ McConnell this Brunson stopper. I'm like, and even TNT, they had a stat that was like Brunson is 3 for 11 on McConnell. I'm like, that has to be inaccurate, because I'm like, I've watched every game, every second of this series, and TJ McConnell has gotten cooked almost as bad as Andrew Nembhard. Like, what are we saying? But
yeah, and I can't believe the level of physicality they're allowing this Indy team to get away with. They're literally just like holding this guy's arm coming down the court. I've never seen that in basketball. Like, they're holding his arms close, like it's almost like a football play, like a football hold. It's weird, but they're letting it happen.
They're letting him get away, and God forbid a Knicks fan says anything on Twitter about what they're doing. But yeah, obviously we went up 2-0. We pulled it out in game 2 and managed to hold on. And I was still feeling good about the Knicks in 5. But then moving on to games 3 and 4 and also 5, game 3 was tough. Game 3 was right when I got home, and me and a bunch of my friends, we went to the city. We had like a little table at this bar, and it was like one of those situations where the game's on every TV, and they're like turning down the music and turning up the TV sound, and everybody's locked in, everybody's watching. It was great, but it was just like, I was like, if we have to win, one or the other would have to be that one, because I had a feeling the quick turnaround was going to be like game 4 didn't really surprise me. Whether we
No way.
won or lost game 3, game 4 didn't surprise me, but game 3 was really, really tough. And the way that we lost it, like Andrew Nemhard 30-footer, like, all right,
Come on,
like, and
son.
we played well. We played
Yeah.
well. And honestly, that last second shot was avoidable. We went up 98 to 89, or yeah, 98 to 89,
Yeah.
and and I don't even think we scored 100 first. I believe it was 100 to 99 Pacers, and they scored 100 before we did. And I know you're big on the Lawler's Law, they call it. And it was in the back of my head. I was like,
Yeah.
we have to get to 100 now, just for the sake of what the numbers say. Because at
Yep.
least if the stats are on our side, we don't got to play perfect down the end. We just got to be good enough. Like if
Gotta
we
be
get
just good enough.
and we stopped scoring. Brunson started taking some really questionable shots. Deuce missed a couple open looks.
Yeah.
And Burks, for as great of a first half as he had, and Jai, I'm waving the white flag on Burks after this one because he's earned, I think, everybody's respect. Burks was great in that first half, but even he started missing some shots in the second half. Dante, who obviously led us in scoring that night, he kind of lost it a bit in that, like, late in the second half as well. So game 3 was really, really, really tough to swallow. But then game 4 didn't really surprise me. We went to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes for my mom, or my mom wanted to see it on Mother's Day. So I was happy. And I had like no service in the movie theater because I was trying to check the score. I'm like, I can't even tell what's happening. But like, every time I would get like an inkling of service and I would see the score, we were just down by more points. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on, because
Yeah, we completely ignored game 3.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
game 4. We just
yeah, game
completely
4,
ignored it.
yeah. But yeah, that was just pitiful, games 3 and 4. Or yeah, not pitiful. Game 3 was good, but game 4 was pitiful. And then obviously, or actually, let's save game 5 because I do want to talk about game 5 last. But games 3 and 4, that was just kind of where I was at on that front. Game 3 was really, really tough, especially like I was in a good mood seeing all my friends again, and then it's like, damn, we lost. But I'll let you go next week. What were your takeaways from game 3 and 4?
Oh, Jai's up. I think Jai's
Oh,
up.
Jai, go ahead, Jai.
Game 3. Game 3 happened the same day of my college graduation. I graduated this. Let me make sure. Yeah, graduated from the University of Southern California, USC, not South Carolina. I take that as a direct disrespect.
Right. It's amazing how many.
Yeah. I didn't even
amazing
go
how
to
many people are
USC,
like,
and I'm like, what do you mean USC South Carolina? There's
Yeah, like,
one USC. I've never thought of South Carolina as the U, and people love doing that around here.
Yeah. So yeah, all my family was with me in LA. And we were watching the game together. Maybe it was because, I was having such a good day. I told you guys I wouldn't do this again. But game 3 was an absolute armed robbery from the league, from the refs. They stole that game from us because of everything that had been going on and the narrative that had been painted against the Knicks. Yeah, I think that some of the officiating in the last 2 minutes, last 3-4 minutes of that game was disgusting. They showed a play where Miles Turner had pretty much not a full Nelson, but like just had Hartenstein's arms locked up behind him on a crucial play.
Yeah.
To get it offensive rebound or the defensive rebound, and they got the rebound and put it right back up. Yeah, Hartenstein, they're even still doing it to Hartenstein today in yesterday's game, but we're getting to that later. But yeah, that game 3 was ours to win. And Darren, you said that you thought the series was going to end in 5, and it should have ended in 5. It should have ended last night because of what went on in game 3. Yeah, just outstanding. I think the at halftime also, I'll say, like, when we're waiting on Jalen Brunson, I wasn't even convinced we're going to lose that game at all in game 2. Because when he went down, we had slid a little bit, but the Knicks were in it. The Knicks were mentally still in it. We were doing the right things. They just hit shots on a crazy clip. But back to game 3, we did everything we could to control that game. We did go on a little bit of a slide where we didn't have any field goals, but I think some scoring could have been put in there by calling the right fouls. Brunson was getting hacked most time down the fourth quarter, and he was hobbled. The refs weren't responding to that at all. They went to the line plenty. They got plenty of second chances. Whatever. Game 4, my parents were still in LA, so we didn't have a chance to watch it. So it wasn't, I wasn't really surprised about what was going on. And understanding in context why I think that game went the way it went, you understand, what the coaches might have been thinking when we saw the way the Knicks played in Game 5. I think that some war strategy was being implemented by Tibbs, because he figured something out about Rick Carlisle and the Pacers in Game 5, but we'll get that later.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Reek.
Can you? Yeah, okay. I was making sure I wasn't on mute. But yeah, so Game 4, Games 3 and 4. That's where we are now. So Game 3, before the game, prior to Game 3, like you said, D, I think we were gonna mail in one of them, because it's only you only have so much energy that you can expend, and the bellwether for me there is Josh Hart. And so prior to Game 3, the first thing I said was, if Josh Hart gets a rest in Game 3, we're throwing a game. Like, Tibbs is not throwing the game, but Tibbs is not trying to win Game 3 if Josh Hart sits down on the bench. Sure enough, the game starts, game's going on. We're pretty much, we're in the game. Like, I think surprisingly, Josh Hart gets a break. We're still in the game, surprisingly. Then I think in the fourth quarter, Tibbs decided, and team, we can win this one. We wanted to reduce the minutes. We wanted to reduce, because Brunson was hobbling. We didn't have OG. All of those factors were there, and the Knicks decided that we could possibly win this one, and they made a push, and it came down to obviously the Nembhard shot. Then Game 4, we needed a rest. They have us going every other night, back to back. It feels like back to backs. And we're only down to legitimately 6 or 7 players. And, the guys just needed a break. Brunson needed a break that night. He should have sat down. Josh Hart needed a break. It was perfect that we ended, and, we got the 30-point blowout. But then we got a chance to go back to the lab. And we got a chance to dust off some of the pieces that we've had all year that us as Knicks fans know. We know Deuce can start in the place of Brunson or alongside Brunson. And so I think what we need to start to do now, and the news is sort of showing it a little bit, where they're giving Tibbs his flowers. They're talking extension. They're talking $10 million a season. Mm-hmm. This man is coaching his ass off. I'm telling you right now, there's nobody that is coaching the way he is right now with what he has, right? We're dusting off Alec Burks, and we have to see something from Shake Milton. Shake Milton's got to be ready. Mm-hmm. He's got to be ready to contribute something, whether it's just a minute or two for Josh or whomever else. He's got to be ready, because at this rate, we're going to need him. We're going to need something. We just need bodies. But Tibbs is doing his thing, and we looked fantastic. After the drubbing of Game 4. But again, I think you're saying, John, there was definitely some gamesmanship happening, some war strategy employed. I just like that Brunson has figured out his system, how he's going to attack these guys. And they can't stop it. They have what's his name? Neesmith. Neesmith, he's extremely wild. It's unbelievable.
He's not defender either. I don't know what this is all coming from. He's a Brunson stopper. Brunson's shooting 39% against him. He can't play any defense.
Brunson's been hurt for 2 damn games. Yeah. He's hurt. Mm-hmm. And then when he's not hurt, he destroyed him.
He cooks him.
Actually made him touch hurt. Right? So that was it. That's 3 and 4. And now you lead the charge on number 5.
Well, yeah, Game 5, man. Last night was, obviously we're recording this the day after, so today's Wednesday. Game 5 was Tuesday, and man, game 5 was, and I was worried because going into the game, I was like, well, even if Brunson isn't necessarily, at his best or whatever, um, we're just gonna be in a situation where, excuse me, where we just got guys that need, like Deuce is gonna have to have, 15 to 20 points. Dante's gonna need to have 20 to 25. Josh might need 18. Like if Brunson can only, give us his, let's just say
25.
75%, 80% of himself, which leads to 25 points or something. Other guys just need to step up, and if we're physical with them, we'll at least escape with a win. But I mean, Brunson looked, I don't know what his foot injury was, but if you would have, the way he was playing, if you would have told me he was been injured early in the series, I would have been like, where? Because he just looked like he looked like he was back to himself. I mean, he was, Neesmith couldn't guard him, Nemhard couldn't guard him, McConnell couldn't guard him, Halliburton, whoever they put on him,
Ben Shepherd.
Ben Shepherd couldn't guard him. It
he
didn't
gave Ben
matter
Shepherd 10 points quick, didn't he?
Yeah, it didn't matter who they put on Brunson, he was scoring. And then of course, Jai, your guy Alec Burks, man, like I said earlier, I owe him an apology. I mean, the supernatural shooting slump, it's over. Are you a Burks guy too, Reek?
I like Burks, but I owe him, that's why I owe him an apology too.
I definitely owe Burks it, because I was saying, man, this dude stinks.
He's a bum. That's what I was saying.
This isn't supernatural. This guy just stinks. Keep him out of the rotation. And now we need him now more than ever. He made 5 threes last night. I think he missed like 3 shots all night. And every shot he took, because the issue that I always had with him, he would just take stupid shots like he's Kobe. And I'm like, yo, like, what's up with you, bro? Can you just take normal shots? And I mean, last night he was taking, every shot was good in rhythm. He has like one of those flat jumpers, but like, he's a basketball player, so it doesn't matter that it's flat. It's kind of like he's good enough where it'll go in, even if it's a flat jumper, excuse me. But I mean, to blow them out the way we did is, I think a blowout is what we needed. And I think we can very, very, very confident that we can close it out in Indianapolis, because I mean, I already seen what I needed to see in game 3 to say, we can smoke these guys in 5. Because when I saw game 3, I was like, okay, 3 was the one to get, 4 might be the one to, kind of punt on. And we did. I mean, I'm not going to say that we came into the game with the mentality to punt, but I think once it got out of hand quickly, it was like, all right, they got this one. So, but seeing that blowout, I don't see how it doesn't travel. We just play better defense than them. They can't do, I think I saw on the Knicks Muse Twitter account, they said that, or somebody, or no, Tommy Beer, he's pretty prominent on Knicks Twitter. He said that last night was the first time the Pacers scored less than 92 points since December of 2022. So they've been known for just scoring a bunch of points on people. And we held them to 91 points. Defense travels. So whatever we did defensively, I think Tibbs figured something out, playing Deuce, starting Deuce as opposed to starting Precious. Because not even to say Precious is the reason we lost game 3 or 4. I think Precious, we know he's limited, and he gave us you can't question his effort. Can never question his efforts. Over that, it's not his fault that we lost. But I think Deuce just gives us that element of the Pacers are so guard heavy. You don't mind giving up the matchup against Siakam as long as Halliburton's not going to get off, Neesmith isn't going to get off, Nemhard's not going to get off, and Ben Shepherd isn't going to get off, and TJ McConnell, who for whatever reason just seems to never miss a shot against us, he's not going to get off. So if you're keeping those guards in check, Siakam's going to have 50, and Siakam doesn't have that in him. So that was a great game last night. Great game planning by Tibbs, who has been under fire, and it's just lazy analysis by people. Nobody on the team that's hurt is hurt because of the amount of minutes they play. You can literally look through the history of basketball. The best players in the playoffs play 42, 45 minutes a game. LeBron James in 2016, when they came back from 3-1, 45 minutes a game. In 2015, 45. 2018, he never came out the game. So I don't want to hear about this minute stuff. Your best players play, which is why I say depth is a little bit overrated, because sometimes you can have too many cooks in the kitchen. When you get to the playoffs, 7 or 8 guys, that's it. So
that is who the Pacers are. They got too many cooks.
Yep. So huge shout out to Tibbs. Great win. I think we definitely close it out in game 6. And I'll pass it to you, Jai.
Yeah, game 5. I was looking at a couple of clips just so I could sharpen up what I was going to say about Tibbs with these war strategies. Number one, Brunson played 20 minutes in game 4. Nothing more than that. The whole starting lineup got like 20 minutes. I think that our leader in minutes was Alec Burks. Never in the season or the series before, obviously we didn't use Alec Burks last series. But leading up to now, did we use Alec Burks in the way that we used him the last 2 games? Literally just as a spot-up shooter, not handling the ball, just open in the corner. That's the only way you need to use Alec Burks. So I think that, just showing that, I mean, I don't know, this could be a stretch, but like we had him at the bottom of the bench, and he's still a valuable basketball player. And it's not to say that he was not. I thought that Tibbs just was misunderstanding what Burks could do, because we were using him the same way we used him in 2022, 2020, before we let him go.
That's right.
So yeah, but really, the main thing I want to really point out is that first quarter is where the Knicks won the game. And it's where we started off slow. Tibbs called, or somebody called a timeout, because we had our full timeouts for a long time. The game stopped with the Knicks down 7.
Yes.
And I was just like, I know we're getting off to a really slow start, but I can't, in my heart, I didn't feel like we were going to lose the game and that the Knicks weren't going to figure something out to at least compete, if not win. So I'm looking at a little bit of film, and that started with Deuce McBride got the defensive matchup of Tyrese Halliburton and absolutely filleted him in that first quarter. Whether he was making shots or missing them, it didn't matter. He was just putting pressure on Halliburton and forced Rick Carlisle's hand. He called like 3 timeouts in 5 minutes. In the first quarter, he was almost out of timeouts. So we're going to Halliburton or Halliburton side on every possession. He's weak. Halliburton gets pulled a little bit earlier than he usually would in the first quarter and stays on the bench for like 8 minutes of the second quarter, which is where we stretched out the lead a little bit longer. He came back in. We went right back to Deuce, right back to whoever was on Halliburton's side. Sometimes it was Precious, whoever it was. We're trying to get buckets in on that side, and Carlisle went into that half after calling like 4 or 5 timeouts already. So he understood what was happening too. The guys wearing earplugs also during the game to filter out the Garden crowd so he can focus and not throw tantrums all the time.
Wow.
So we were in their head. So going into game 6, I don't know how it's going to end. I know every team that's won has won at their home. We should have taken game 5. I think we can go back to Indiana. We got the same roster we did in game 3. Going into game 6. So I don't see why we couldn't come out and have that same process and actually finish the game. I don't see why that couldn't happen. So
yeah. So I think I'm gonna take off right where I'm gonna take up right where you left off. We got the same roster. It's the same set of guys, and we got a stinker from Dante DiVincenzo. Dante.
Yeah.
Well, Dante
8
didn't
points.
hit a 3.
That was the loudest 8 points I've ever.
Wasn't it? And so he didn't hit a 3. And Jai text during the game, we just need a little something from Dante. And I swear to God, he went baseline and caught that tip dunk. And I was like, well, there it is. Because that's all he had to give that game, right? And then so coming into game 6 for sure, we're primed for another Dante game, right? If he's able to pull off something right now, then we win this game, going away easily. John, that's a good picture to get frozen on. Look at him.
You were frozen for a second.
okay.
But yeah, so game 5, just an exciting victory for us. The thing that I'm really starting to love is once a Knick, always a Knick. When you're looking along the baseline and you got Stephon Marbury going nuts, you got John Starks out there damn near getting on the court. Like they're not just there showing up; they're there cheering like fans. Like they showed a one clip when going down the stretch of the game yesterday when Brunson was cooking somebody. Like Stephon Marbury is like leaning on the baseline, like he's in it. So it's really, really, really good to see that that level of support for what we're building, because we've said that a bunch of times on our podcast, right? We're like, this team is special. We can feel that we're building something, and we've established something here. And I think that they're doing a great job of pulling back from the history of the team and some of our great moments as Knicks to today. But I can't get enough of Brunson, going for 44, and Hartenstein, the way he is playing, staying out of foul trouble, getting all those rebounds, because the reality has been that the guys who win the rebounding battle win the game. Josh Hart, the previous 2 games, what was not rebounding. He did not have any offensive rebounds, and they figured out a way to box him out. Hartenstein this game just went nuts.
I mean, he finished with like 18, 19 boards.
Oh my God, he was on it, wasn't he? He couldn't be stopped. And I don't know, what Miles Turner is doing out there, but they don't have an aggressive big to contend with somebody who is going after rebounds the way that Hartenstein is right now. You can't put Obi Toppin in, because Obi Toppin is leaking out, same way he did in New York. That's the reason he's not in New York. He can't rebound. He's too skinny. All he want to do is leak out and get a flashy dunk. Congratulations, he got it, game 1. But the thing about it is, Miles Turner is not that guy, and I'm glad we didn't pull the trigger on him, just because he can hit a couple threes, because he did it. He hit 3 threes in a row, and it was a little scary, I have to admit. But this team, the leadership of Brunson, the leadership of Josh Hart. Josh Hart started off the game doing some dumb shit. He had like 4 turnovers in a row.
Oh my God, yeah, that one like on the leak out, he tried to throw it up ahead. I'm like, bro, just dribble. What are you doing?
What are you doing? It was nonsense, and it's like, come on, man. But he does the same thing every game. He just settles in. And just makes good plays. So I'm really excited about it. Really excited about our potential for Game 6 and finishing them in Indiana. That's going to be another opportunity for us to just rip their hearts out. That's going to be it. Like, and if we get to the conference finals, and if we can talk about it depending on how you want to go from here, D. But getting to that conference finals against Boston going to be tough, right? They'll get KP back by the conference finals, and we all know that KP is a game changer for that Boston lineup. He's incredible for them. That was the pickup of the year. Outside of us with OG, if we had a full boat and we got OG,
I think we beat them. I think so. But yeah, it's already going to be a tough task without everybody. Yeah. And speaking of OG, who knows what his status is? That's kind of, I was really hoping that we could have Nikki on today, because she's basically covers it. She covers the team closely, so she sees, like, we hear the term or the expression, he's been doing light work on the practice court. Well, what does that look like? Is he running? Is he cutting? Like, what's he? Because a hamstring is tricky. A hamstring, even the slightest tweak can be, because it's been like a week. So, we're coming up on a week. So but even just the slightest tweak to your hamstring can be like, you're out a month just because you tweaked it. So it's not like we have time on our side here. Like, this is horrible timing for OG, because at least with OG, I like our chances of being versatile and just trying to beat them a little undersized, but having options. But without OG, don't really like our chances, being honest. But we'll save that, though. We'll save that. I do want to dive into that, but I do want to save it as well.
Let's finish Indy.
Yeah, what I wanted to close out with is just from each of you, just one thing, and I'll start. Just one thing you need to see, though. One thing that you want to see in Game 6, potentially Game 7, that would give you extra hope against a matchup with Boston because, like I said, I think that Boston series, I mean, Boston for some reason is in a dogfight right now, but I think the Cavs are kind of just playing with pride. And then pride in the NBA usually lasts you a quarter, and then the good team, the better team, just pulls away. So one thing that you want to see from the Knicks that'll give you more confidence against, Boston, and I'll start. And what I want to see is aggressive Josh Hart again. I feel like he kind of went away from, and this was one of my keys going into the Philly series was Josh Hart and Dante. Dante has shown that he's never going to stop shooting because I mean he was 4 for 14 last night, but Dante's always he's gonna in this situation that we're in right now. Dante's shooting no less than 14 to 15 shots. But in the two games we lost, Josh, I think in game 3, I want to say he maybe shot like maybe 10 or 11 shots. And then in game 4, he might have shot like 6 times. And can't happen. We can't have Josh Hart not being aggressive. And the thing is, people think that Josh Hart's not capable. I mean, these aren't flukes. The Josh Hart high scoring games that we're seeing are not flukes. Like right. I watched this guy in college. He was a 40% 3-point shooter in college. He was a ball handler in college. He just went to the NBA. And when you're on teams with, with just Julius better Randle. Guys, Julius Randle. I don't know if he was on the team with Kobe or not, but you got LeBron too. You got Brandon Ingram, Dame. Lonzo Ball. Then you're on a team with Dame. Like, who's going to handle the ball when you're on those teams? Those guys, not you. Yeah. But now that we're in a position where Josh Hart is kind of needing to be more of his college self, I'm not surprised by anything he's doing. And he's got to be like, if we get an aggressive Josh Hart, who I know we're undersized. I know we'll be backs against the wall. Boston would probably be favored like minus 300 something to, plus 270 for the Knicks to win a series against Boston. But what I would want to see in game 6 and 7 to give me more confidence is an aggressive and consistent Josh Hart and maybe even a triple-double. Because we haven't gotten a playoff triple-double yet from Josh Hart. I'd love to see one in this next game just to put the net, like to really put that cherry on top of getting getting Indiana up out of there. Sweet. Jai, I'll let you start with just one thing that you would want to see in game 6 or potentially game 7 that would give you more confidence against Boston.
I do want to preface this by, if I had another chance to speak, I was wanted to say this about Alec Burks. It's over. The good part, what we've gotten what we're going to get out of Alec Burks. So we cannot rely on any points from him in game 6 or, game 7, if there is one at all. We definitely need to just play our game the way we've been playing it, the way it goes. But my one thing that I want to see from this team is without OG, I don't want there to be we were only down in this last game because there was a figuring out period where we're going to see who are we going to get from what, who's going to be able to rotate correctly, who's going to be able to stop on ball, things like that. That's where games are lost for the Knicks, where we lose very early based on just letting teams get energized, letting them get out and running. I think that if we, without OG, find our defensive identity for game 6 early, then we're going to be able to win that game in Indiana easily, because we can't let them get hyped up by the crowd, can't let them run, can't let them do any of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think what's one thing you want to see in, closing out this Indy series for, a little boost of confidence against Boston.
Yeah, I think going in, they're going to have their run. They're going to have a run early, and they're going to get some love from that crowd. But I think you're right, and I'm going to agree with you on the one thing, and that's going to be the defense. We need to be able to establish our defensive identity and take control of the game from the rebounding perspective and from the having Deuce out there hitting open shots and allowing Brunson to rotate the ball. I think that's where having Deuce and Devo and Josh Hart. I think maybe that's why Josh Hart was passing up a couple of shots in the beginning of the game, game 5, was because they wanted to give Deuce the opportunity to get the wing open on the right side when Brunson swings the ball over there. And Josh Hart had the ball a couple of times on the left side of the wing, looking at wide open 3-pointers, and he had 3 turnovers after that, because the game plan for Indiana was clearly to just let Josh Hart shoot, and he was like, nope, I want McBride to shoot, and that's what we needed, and eventually that sort of happened. So defense, and then allowing our guards, to continue to play the way they do. And I'm not sold that Alec Burks is done. I mean, look, if I'm out there in the corner getting wide open threes, I'm banging 3 of them. If I get 10 or 12, I'm banging 3 of them. I'm guaranteeing you that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm not too sold that it's over quite yet, because his role is realized. Before,
yes,
we were asking him to like be a ball handler and stuff and create. All we're asking him to do now, hey, catch and shoot, catch and rip, one dribble pull up. If it's not there, swing the ball. I think that's
swing the ball or go sit your ass down for a minute.
yeah.
That's it. But yeah, so I'd like to see the rebounding defense established by continuous rebounding pressure from Josh Hartenstein, and then also on that off, and then the pressure on the guards, like you pointed out earlier. So defense is the key.
Right. All right. Well, that'll do it. It's been a while, but we're back and excited to see the Knicks close this thing out, man. Wow. It's really crazy that amidst all the non-believers, the doubters, the injuries, what have you, I mean, down literally half of an 8-man rotation, the Knicks still find themselves in a position to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm hoping they do it on Friday night. I'm real happy we get that extra day off. I think that extra day will also be key. And I think we can finish this thing on Friday night in Indiana. And Cleveland is up right now. And that would be obnoxious, because I think we would end up playing at 10 o'clock. So really hope that doesn't happen. But we'll keep our eyes out to see what happens with this Cleveland and Boston series, and hopefully Boston closes it out, because I do want smoke with them. But that'll do it for episode 12 of the Orange and Blue Crew. For myself, Jai and Reek, we thank you all for watching. Leave a like and comment and subscribe. We got new episodes every week. We'll catch you guys next time.
Yes, sir.